Greetings and salutations, and welcome to Soup City Sins, Sheltered or Saved. Tonight's episode, entitled Forgetting to Laugh While Weeping. We hope that you will enjoy what this troupe brings to play, and as always, our immortal thanks. And I, your storyteller Nobody, I will just wait for the other players to arrive. Thank you. Excuse me. And with that being the case, with us all gathered here, roughly a quarter of an hour before our hard start, do we have any questions from where we left everyone?
I mean,
yeah,
we're all together now.
Yeah, we certainly are. Where was the location? If anybody remembers, where was the location that the mistress of this whole thing fled off to with Lord Fuckface?
Is it the room where Theo is currently pointing at?
No. The high priestess and her Banu Hakim bodyguard, they're no longer in this building.
Yeah, they went up towards where the changelings are.
That gives me minimal context.
Minimal is more than enough in this particular case, because here I'll send you a screenshot of where they are approximately after taking the 290 west and circling down through the 355. So let's do this and that. And there we go. And then we'll take that and we'll set that right over here for you in play.
Oh. Bueno. Yes. Joliet.
Yeah, J-Town. There are horror stories about J-Town in the real world and even more so in the world of darkness. What you all might know, if you would like to have your characters be aware of, is that Joliet is in fact a anarch domain. Is ruled by Baron Joshua Turnopolsky, who is one of the last old Bruja. And not that he's old, like he's not from ancient Sparta or Greece or anywhere like that, but in regards to old, he was one of the last council warriors during the heyday of Loden's time. He was the reason for Sierra Hines being killed and several other notable Ventrue going missing. His domain of Joliet is well, you better have a good damn reason to be there and be able to hold your own if you're not a recognized member of the anarch state. Because he in fact does consider it the anarch state of being, not a movement with an end in sight, not a cause célèbre. He considers it to be the rightful heir to what the crumbling tower is. He believes it to be, much like during those days, an offshoot of the Camarilla. He doesn't consider it to be a wild, wanton thing, stretching and clawing for things that they can't hold. He has that very purposeful understanding as to what you're trading in, no matter which sect you belong to, for the liberties therein. It is personal accountability to public responsibility. Which means, as far as you all know, being a little bit younger and a little bit more modern, and dealing with younger kindred, that means that he's not very well liked by the new face of the Anarch motion. Because you should be able to do whatever it is that you want to do. Who has a right to tell you what to do with yourself or your time or your energies? Who has the right to tell you what's beyond the pale or what's unacceptable? But enough about Baron Tarnopolsky. What about you all? Do you have any questions as to where you all are?
I know where I am.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Fuck, I had my mic up. You weren't even hearing me. What's like the street address of this bank? I've been trying to fucking find it. I know we're in a bank building, but I can't find the fucking street address.
I hadn't given you all one, predominantly because with any luck, it won't be here in 3 episodes.
Oh, yeah! Okay, never mind.
If you guys are successful, while the building may remain, there is very little chance that it's going to be as it is. One way or the other. Either it's going to have larger, more luxurious property under its control, or if you all are successful in following through with the mission that you've all been given, it won't be occupied by this group of kindred and their hangers-on. But just so that you are aware, the bank building is actually just off of Fulton and Sacramento. It's on the northeast corner, where right next to the Fulton Community Garden was.
Mm-hmm. Northeast corner, so like just south of right on Carroll?
Carroll's 2 blocks north, because you've got Carroll, and then you've got the little half street that goes from Francisco over to Whipple. I forget what it's called.
Okay. We got Big Sam's Fish and Chicken. Just north of that looks to be a corridor building. Yeah.
You should be on the right side of, right across from where Big Sam's is. There's an apartment building there now, but it was a bank building. I use a lot of older landmarks.
Very good.
But right there on the northeast corner of Sacramento and Fulton is where the bank building, quote unquote, is. And to get to Garfield Park, you all would have gone down to Warren's one way, the wrong way. So you guys would have gone south to Washington and then headed west, which will lead you right into the park, because Washington turns into Schrader as it moves through the park and then comes out the other side.
Couldn't we have gone west down West Fulton Boulevard until we hit Central Park Avenue?
Yeah, but you don't want to get engaged with any of the local street toughs.
True.
So the safer, easier, more publicly accessible way. Plus, if there's a bus stop, there's a good chance you may find help if you do get into trouble.
Yeah. Man, we really did go to one of the closest fucking kindred there for help, only to mentally scar the poor woman. We came for help and we ended up just giving her trauma. She walks into the icky, sticky, gooey mess that is this building.
Yes, whatever is done in the dark will eventually come to the light.
I hope they're a lovely individual.
As long as it's not a black light, we're okay.
I'm just letting you all know, the word congeal comes to mind whenever I think of this building.
I mean, it can be cleaned, it's fine.
Yeah, fire cleanses all.
It does.
We even have people for that. They're called initiates.
There he is. Fucking Alexander. That piece of shit.
All right. Well, we still have roughly 6 minutes to hard start, but if you guys don't have any other additional questions, are you all amenable to diving into where we last left everyone? Because everyone is aware as to where they are, what their characters' intentions were, and the situation that was in fact unfolding.
I am aware of what my character is doing, engaging in soon-to-be violence. I know what my intentions are. Kill Alexander. More importantly, though, we do need a scapegoat for the bigwigs to stare at and call names. And I believe that we were in the process of attempting to capture the senior-most priest within this building to hold as said scapegoat.
Everyone's kind of standing there drooling a little bit.
Well, we just met up with you. You didn't know our intentions until now. Also, what happened to the Miro? I'm seeing like 3 coteries and a big old military checkered board box.
What are you talking about?
Well, this is all I see of the Miro. Let me just stream it really quickly. This is all I've got. Oh, that's just off in this tiny little corner. Okay, that explains so much. Well, that's really tucked away, nobody.
Hey, now.
Anything else off in this fucking distance here? It started
there are
me over
many
there.
things off in the distance.
It started me over there, and I scrolled out, and I'm like, I'm not seeing anything around here. The only reason why I realized what was going on is because I saw the Mr. Nobody down the bottom left. I'm like, what's he looking at?
Well, there are bits and bobs of bits and pieces spread out all over the Miro. Team Plan Essentials is the busiest of the Miro, but we have in use, technically, a Miro for New Orleans, Milwaukee, Chicago, both Kindred and Changeling, Mississippi, New York, Gary, Dalton and its contiguous associates throughout the Thornton Township. There is Bethany, Las Vegas, Shreveport, not quite exposed to anyone else right now, is also Prim, Picayune, and Grand Bay.
Oh,
Shoo. Yeah. The Team Plan and Essentials is the most accurate and most active, but there are other outlying associated boards as well.
Bueno.
I'm a man of many disparate, loosely connected, mildly contiguous thought trees moving at once, and I like the aspect that Miro provides us to visually storytell without having to map out details so much, because those are the best stories, have the most amazing details that only come to life when you look at them. So what we decide to show and share and communicate to each other is where the story comes to life, for me at least. even with overarching connections and paths of where we move through, and how I build using the onion skin method, so that as each layer we peel off, no matter which side we attack from, we'll still be telling the story, but you'll lose a little bit of this sweetness or a little bit of that savoriness depending on how we go about it.
Indeed. The information that is told on the Miro helps to put a lot of plot lines together and give context, while also subtly setting things up that weren't even initially intending on being a story, but totally could.
Yes. Engagement and investment dictating where the story actually lands. Because quite simply, simple is best. The underlying idea with where we are tonight, with this iteration and with this understanding of Chicago, is literally incepted and inspired by an REM song, which, well, REM is such a niche band and often forgotten in regards to their nonsensical lyrical depth. So, without too much furthering of our do's and don'ts, I thank you all for being here and engaging in this hobby of ours. I'd like you all to thank you all for sharing this time and investing this energy in exploring these characters' existence. Because we can't say lives, except for perhaps in regards to those things that they toss off like New Orleans beads and baubles. We really can't say lives because they don't have the grace of the day, nor the nights to regret what they did during the day. All they have is one long, forever night to squeeze in the entirety of their existence, to squeeze in the entirety of all of the many things that they may or may not hold in their hands. A forever night where the light and goodness, the heat, the warmth, and all of the many other positive aspects of fire is like death to them. Little small bits of death. And in a similar situation, in a similar understanding, we pick up seconds, micro fractions of nanoseconds later. A blink, much like the entirety of their daylight existence. Later. Miriam, the preeminent elder deacon standing before her. To his right is another deacon, and to his left, his associating agent. Further to his left, moving up the steps down the hall, is Hestia, Aaron, and Rosa, entering, being led down by their broken and bashed, almost forgotten deacon from upstairs, who's following behind them and trying to get them to step over that edge, to give release and relent to all that beautiful darkness in them, to redo what they did upstairs. And even as Hestia has crushed their hand, and even as there is a significant amount of physical violence that had been unleashed on them, they are literally craving more. Directly across, past Miriam, down the stairs leading into the lower portions, is a unseen and unrealized Theo, who has seen, witnessed, and been accosted visually by what's happening in the lower realms of this building, what's happening right beneath the bright and glorious, overly done sensuality and sexuality, the painful embrace of pain for pain's sake, there is something far more insidious happening just there. To Miriam's right, roughly 45 degrees over her right shoulder, of course, is the other deacon, halfway between Miriam, Hestia, and Aaron. And to Miriam's left is the other deacon who had kept watch over the purification of Miriam inside that cistern room she just left. So, like pieces on a chessboard, there is a clear understanding as to what happens next. What would normally happen next, save no one can see the future, which is now our present. As we sit here, words exchange, moments lost, moments gained, truths understood, and truths yet to be realized. All of that to say, what do, guys? What do?
Well, you guys want to do it by a particular order, or shall we just as it goes? Bueno. Alright, so, Edgar. Wait, fuck! Not Edgar. Aaron. Need to change my server profile again. So, as.
We were waiting for you to realize.
It literally, if I don't change my server profile, will fuck me up so bad. But no, as I believe the last thing Hestia had done in this moment was crunch down on her guide's hand, which, or was that a little bit prior? Because I remember there was some inciting.
A few seconds
down
prior.
the stairs. Yeah, and he had grabbed the teddy before we came down the stairs, and when we got to the bottom of the stairs, and Hess saw the group there, she swished the wrist.
Absolutely. All right. So, with that understanding, with the understanding that shit is about to kick off, Aaron is going to move to preempt that. Seeing Miriam over in the distance, and I would assume this highly decorated deacon is in fact highly decorated, correct?
Yes, easily discernible as a higher functionary of the church.
All right. As he's, moving to now engage, moving towards Miriam, he's just gonna shout out, Miriam, get that one, and just start basically trucking along towards the guy. I think that's his target, that's his objective. Let Hestia have fun with the guy that, had fun, and see how things play out from there. Whether or not the rest of these people get beat to death or run away, not so much an issue. They need that scapegoat.
Okay, so we're taking it that we're moving in alphabetical order, that being the case. As you're hearing the cry of "get that one" from Aaron and launching into motion, what is it that you are doing? Your sycophant, your fan, your stan, if you will, is enamored with the crushing pain of lost bones in his hands. There are so many delicate little bones that could be manipulated and twisted and broken and shattered, and you've only done one and sprained the other. Finish what you start. The Lord says half steps are not.
Hess will look to Miriam directly and say, so that she understands while not giving the entire game away, I made a phone call. And then looks kind of like heads back toward, like, not heads back, but like nods her head back towards Rosa, who's behind them. We don't have long. And then dragging her new friend down the stairs entirely and kind of shoving him to the ground.
At about this time, Theo is going to ease behind Hestia at this point. And when he gets there, he's going to drop his obfuscate and whisper behind her ear, "That's the door you guys want."
Oh, that's a great way to get elbowed.
It is indeed. Hearing that voice in her ear, like spiders crawling up out of some very, very deep and dark earwax, will pause Hestia for a second as to what she may or may not do being, well, sneak attacked. Miriam, hearing Aaron, hearing Hestia, catching sight of Theo appearing out of nothing with the primary elder deacon in front of you, what is it that you are doing?
Miriam is going to sigh and say, "Oh, you catch more flies with honey than fighting." She'll reach out and she'll gently pull the elder deacon towards her.
So pulling him into the path of being trucked by Aaron, or attempting to have him move out of the way of Aaron?
Oh, just closer to her. You know, chest to chest, so to speak.
Okay. Hestia, spiders, ears, that's the door. Theo, realizing what is at stake, and Aaron, having leaped into action. What is it that you are doing as the deacon is pulled, wrapped in the embrace of Miriam?
They're going to catch an elbow to the solar plexus just out of instinct, and then she's going to sidestep around the group and head for the door that was indicated to her.
Aaron, as you trundle off, as you rush forth, your target of opportunity, the elder deacon, as you've already called him out to Hestia, do you attempt to dodge around him or truck through him?
Truck through the elder deacon?
Yeah, knock him to the ground, knock him out of the way, or...
The intention is to bind him as much as possible, so, yeah, we're gonna be taking him to the ground till I can get him properly, like... Well, is he resisting?
He is currently well, in the moment that you leap into action, he is slack-jawed, vacant-eyed, having lost all sense of himself. The other two to his right and left, and those that were guarding the door that Miriam is standing in front of, considerably less vacant of stares, considerably more wholly in their persons.
Okay. So Miriam has... Thank you, Hestia. Apologies about that. Seeing that go down then, and not wanting her work to be disrupted by the other two far more lucid individuals, those will be his target as he's rushing forward, with her having him handily wrapped around her finger.
It's considerably more area than that, but I get it. So that being the case, with the blow to the sternum, just below the sternum, actually, the solar plexus on Theo, and Hestia heading forth. Matching step, though not at the same place as Aaron, taking that blow with an unknown kindred behind him. What is it that Theo is doing?
Theo is going to stabilize himself first and foremost. He already knows the person behind him is probably either Rosa or Miriam, mainly because he saw them as he walked around. So he knows where they are. So he's going to stabilize and then take a step behind Rosa and Miriam and then continue forward following Hestia.
Okay. So that being the case, Aaron, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your strength plus brawl? Miriam, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your charisma plus brawl? Because you don't want. I'm taking it that you are trying to not snap him out of the fugue until his mind catches up to his body, so that he's not jarred awake, so he's not jarred into the present of realizing that his sanctum sanctorum, his place of worship, his temple is being violated.
Exactly.
That being the case, go ahead and
Accuracy
roll.
looks count into it.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And Hestia and Theo, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your dexterity and athletics as you all dip, duck, dodge, and otherwise evade and escape the tumult in the offing?
I guess it sucks being short.
It does. More times than not. While all good things come in small packages, they also come in fairly large ones as well. So, that being the case, let's see where fate decides you all land in the grand scheme of things. So those of you that did not meet 3 or more successes are in fact met with an oppositional force very much not up to par, not up to standards. It is not a punishing thing. It's an awkward, annoying thing, as these clearly not cut out for the job amateurs, these believers in their specific facet of the higher power, attempt to stymie, to hold off, to resist and fight back, to keep you all from pressing into their sacred of sacreds, the lure closer to power center of things, the VIP area where only those who have been properly cleansed and purified might have access. Those who have either paid with their time, their money, or their flesh have a right to be. And if this was happening to anyone and everyone else, save yourselves, it would be a farcical slapstick of events, as one properly enshrined and gilded deacon after the next attempts to throw hands that are rated for no one, trip up, lock into, attempt to claw the face of while smiling because they know the return action of getting in the way of such avid, ardent adventurer should be pain or pleasure, and yet they have a job to do. They have a faith to uphold. They have a belief system, and empowered by it though they are, they attempt to halt your progress, to fight off your attempts to wrestle them to the ground, to keep you from having access to luring and leering their deacon away like Lilith did to the sons of Adam, like Lilith did to Cain, like Lilith used to procreate and bring forth life unto the world that, Cain, Adam, and all of the original men stole. And, that's the reason why Abel had to be killed, because Cain was obeying Lilith's command that women, the divine feminine, should be the only ones to birth life into this existence. And because he transgressed against that understanding and decided to be a farmer to attempt to birth life and control the growth of life, Cain, her high priest, acted in her stead. Or at least that's some of what the texts, scriptures, and beliefs attest. And as you all are stymied and held aloft, and Aaron tackles the glorious, blonde, blue-eyed Luciferian in their midst and wrestles him to the ground, Hesha, you're attempting to step around and move through, and one of the deacons wraps themselves around you and is attempting to force you into the ground. And you, having revealed yourself to them, Theo, is so wrapped up and caught up in someone's other attention. They're touching you in places that no one who is not you should be touching you, as they attempt to, force you back up the steps or force you to your knees in supplication. And Miriam, the fanaticism of the Baham is nothing compared to the fanaticism of the Cult of Helena. As you wrap your arms sensuously and controllingly around the elder deacon, bringing him into your bosom, the others, the two on your back, attempt to dogpile you and turn your twosome into a quadsome. What is it that you all are doing, being prevented and harassed as you are? And what are you doing, Aaron, now that you have a engaged exchange with one of the deacons who's attempting to fight you off and claw and kick and spit and assail the veracity of your intelligence?
All right. Now that they're, I've ran into them, I've slammed into them, and just from my position, just maneuver myself to where I can actually get enough field of movement, a good arc, just show them the power of the angry chancla and violate the side of their head, as I'm attempting to send them to sleep in the quickest way possible.
Okay, sleep, same difference.
Intention is sleep, but what comes of that, they enjoy it. They've told me they enjoy it.
Hesha, Miriam, Theo, being so accosted, what is it that you all are doing? You see Aaron, he's actually having some modicum of success with these. You don't want to call them a bad name, because you know somewhere down deep in your heart that they will enjoy that demeaning. But they're definitely problem children. They're definitely problem bodies. They're definitely just why. There are 5 of you all to the 8 of them, and they're proving to be, for all of their soft, squishy mortality, just annoying. Just annoying enough to stop you from moving. It's like moving in a direction and having someone half as fast but twice as determined in front of you, slowing your pace, impeding your forward motion.
Severed ACL for everybody.
Do I still currently have control of the Elder Deacon?
Yeah, you and he are being forced to your most worshipful positions, knees and elbows touching the ground beneath as they try to corral and control you all in the best way that they can finagle.
All right. Well, then Miriam is once again going to meet his eyes and not get any hungrier. She is going to whisper, "I do believe I was promised a pound of flesh," and then emphasizing mesmerize with the last part, "You should call off your dogs."
Okay. And Theo, as this is happening and you're being touched, accosted, and otherwise stymied, what is it that you were doing?
Okay, so this is going to seem a little complicated, but not so much. If it
Simplify for me.
Theo,
Simplify for me. What's the goal?
The goal is to get free and on the other side of them.
Okay. Dipping, ducking, dodging, and moving past.
Well, no, actually, the first person who's in front of him, who's touching, he's going to step into their instep and push hard, kind of making them trip backwards. And as he's falling forward, he's going to use weight of the feather so that he rolls forward past them and then comes to his feet, hopefully at the other side.
Okay. That being the case, Aaron, why don't you start us off with a lovely strength plus brawl as you attempt to pummel this particular individual with the bottom of your boot to across the top of their head into unconsciousness. While that is happening, Hesh, would you be so kind as to minus one die, but your strength plus melee as you disable and dislocate with a very quickly drawn blade their ACLs. You want to sever those tendons for them. And while that is happening, Miriam, would you be so kind as to
I got a specialty in knives.
Okay, there you go. Go ahead, add that to that roll. And Miriam, would you be so kind as to roll for their effectiveness, which is going to be a dice pool of 5, which is their leadership and their ability to try to seize command of the moment. And Theo, would you be so kind as to go ahead, you'll roll your strength plus athletics to force the person up. Unhand me, sir!
Okay, wait. I just want to clarify. I do have a specialty in knives, but am I still taking away 1?
You're taking away 1, you're adding 1, because your specialty gives you a 1, but you already lost 1 for the quick draw.
That's what I needed to know, because I was like, wait.
All right, let's see what does fate prescribe for you all in this particular case with such ardent beliefs and everyone working towards the common good.
It's time for me to get the unfortunate luck.
Oh, indeed. As you attempt to pummel them across the neck and shoulders and base of face and back of skull, pretty much any upwardly mobile portion of their cranium and skull, you're trying to hit hard enough to cause the brain to rattle around inside and cause them to pass out. Whether it's permanently or not, that's between them and their God to work out. Unfortunately for you, even as inefficient, ineffective, and well, to be perfectly honest, again, they are ardent amateurs. Their ability and skill with having to throw hands is non-existent. Yet, in this particular case, the act of self-preservation and fending off blows is something that takes them back to their junior high and their high school and their college and 3 weeks ago. And all of that experience and skill at surviving the slings and arrows and toss slushies of bullies and unlike-minded individuals throughout the entirety of their life comes to the fore as they suddenly become an expert at the Philly shell style of defense. And elbows and arms are being used to block and ward off the blows that are raining down on them with, as Aaron is constantly saying, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. The same can't be said for the deacon that goes down yowling in pain. Pain is one thing, and it's another to be poked in the thigh instead of the ACL. It's another to have that blade slicing across the flesh. You're okay with a little bit of knife play across the forearms, the outer knuckles, the back of the arms, and the buttocks, but in the sensitive areas of the thigh and the outer leg and the inside leg, all too close to, oh, thank God, please no, I need that for later. And Hestia finds it consternating that their defense seems to be ratcheting up the more they do it them. You're hitting them in all of the correct places and not do lasting damage, and they finally piss you off that you drive the knife blade home in the side of the leg and tear it down to the knee. You want to keep playing games, you're going to get the prize that you've been working for. And the yowl of pain that erupts as the blood spurts and splatters all over those brightly fresh, almost neon bright whites. While to your right, nearest the wall, as the deacon before you goes down, Theo again suddenly appears out of nowhere, landing with the softest of cushions. The individual that he pushed and shoved that is now rolling over, trying to reach out and pull him back into the pell-mell and scrum, as their elder deacon, unhand me! How dare you all! And it is as if the second coming of some of the greatest orators that you have ever heard. The power and authority in his voice is enough to cause even the kindred gathered to sit up and take notice. And they're not the only ones. The deacons near as Miriam stop accosting them, stop trying to get them into a rideable position, stop trying to get them to forcefully submit to the authority of the deacons, and instead are helping their deacon to his feet, which vicariously helps Miriam to her feet as, well, the situation has gone way past untenable. The situation is all but lost. The only thing keeping them going is their semblance and senses of faith. There's a way things are done, and this is definitely not that way.
Ruh-roh.
So in the cooling tempers of this scrum, this hullabaloo, this pell-mell of activities and intentions, what next?
Well, despite being in a fairly unfortunate situation myself, is there anything beyond simple force of presence out of this individual? I know that you said that it garnered everyone's attention and almost dragged it to himself. Was that beyond the normal, or is it simple honed charisma?
Unfortunately, either. Unfortunately, skill at leadership can be bolstered and benefited by other means, but also can be bolstered and benefited from practice of use. Discerning whether there's something nefarious, supernatural, or kindred related behind it, you don't have the microscope or the time to analyze in such detail. You'd unfortunately have to pick a path and assume that you are right.
Okay. Oh, damn it, who changed me back to Edgar? Alright, well, Aaron, feeling this kind of almost unconscious draw, this almost unbidden grasp for his attention, and having a lot of experience sussing out the more supernatural means that one might use to manipulate your mind, is going to operate on the potentially flawed understanding that that individual is riding a high from someone's vitae. And is going to I can't really just shout out kindred terminology out loud in front of these people, because as far as I'm aware, like, while they may have seen a bunch of silly shit here, we don't know if they've actually, like, gone full Monty, right?
Correct.
Alright, if that's the case, this might be the first reasonable application of doublespeak then, right? As I tell my party one thing and hide my true words.
Yes.
I see what you're saying there, Nobu, but also I don't actually know what the plan is with these people. You know what? I believe I do know what the plan is with these people. If my memory serves me correctly, Aaron came in here with a this has to be a scorched earth scenario mentality, didn't he?
Did he? Has he changed? Has he realized that, well, maybe not?
No, once you start a job, you gotta finish it. Don't half-ass something. Miriam is going to have some fun with them, but go off, I guess. Sorry, Miriam. Once a goal is set, a goal will be achieved. He just kind of... Everybody, be careful, I think that one's riding Vitae. As he nods off towards the illustrious individual with quite the operatic voice. And then... I suppose, seeing that his more non-lethal means of rendering this individual unconscious aren't necessarily working for him, let me see what I actually have to help me rid this source of danger. Yeah, no, fuck it. I'm pretty sure that it's been established that everyone in this little clustered area is going to die. I guess I'll pull out the blackjack and get to work.
You all are there as he points out and calls out that and thinks that one's on Vitae. You all are there in the midst of the full power of this particularly potentially kindred affected mortal. Draws the attention, draws the eye. You all are there in the midst of this in front of a primogen where there's a mortal that may have been sipping and supping on the gold juice of kindred. You all are there as Aaron draws his slapjack as if it is in fact the sword of Damocles and begins raining blows on his particular target. What are you all doing?
This feels like the masquerade has already been breached to hell, so we're cleaning up right now, and she had a mission, a focus, and that's what she's going to continue to do. She was told there is something important behind that door, more or less, so that's where the fuck she's heading. They've kind of stopped tussling and resisting. She's going to keep going.
Miriam is going to look over her shoulder. I assure you, it's quite harmless, and he's mine. And then she'll smile.
Theo takes a few steps back and takes his belt off. Preparing
I didn't know.
it as a whip.
Wait a second, you know where we're at. You shouldn't have said you take your belt. You're making it easier for them. These men like to infiltrate, if you know what I mean.
Chicka wah wah.
He is getting in the mood. He has drank the Kool-Aid.
He's helped make the Kool-Aid at this point because, one, he forcefully pushed via massage the target who was interdicting him. He floated above him as if he was graced by the hand of angels, further entrancing the target who wanted to be up close and personal and obstruct his path. And then he takes a step back nearly into their arms as he removes his belt. If that's not a flag before the bull, there's very little that is. His actions and, well, the clear-cut intentions of punishing them for being bad is clearly written in the raised brow and the slight growing smile, as Miriam's very purposefully intentions to intimidate and back off any attempts at harming her target, her center of attention, only spurs on that tickled portion of their minds that have conflated demoralized behavior as pleasurable. It only strokes that lusty bawdiness in them, that exaltation to the beauty of pain and the pleasure therein, as Hestia stalks forward. All of the tussling noises and the attentions of what has been happening in the hallway echoing off the walls.
Hears Miriam say that. She kind of tosses back. I'll make sure to let Damien know.
Miriam will smile bright at Hestia.
There are lots of things that one expects when barging through unknown doors. There are lots of things that would go well with the sound of skulls being caved in with slapjacks, and skin being whipped by belts, and tongues lashing in accordance with the violence around them. There are 101 different things that easily come to Hestia's mind as to what sort of depravity and kink might be in play beyond that door. So much like easing towards the green door with the music and chorus striking up a tune, her hand slowly moving through space, grasping the knob and giving it a twist. It holding in place is not expected. Giving it another twist, and it holding in place is hardly to be expected. After all, this is a church. Most churches have nothing but open doors. Why is this door locked? As the sound of a slapjack crashing down across someone's skull and a belt cracking just beneath the sound of speed.
Hess looks back towards Theo. Was it locked when you left?
No. As Theo says as he's whipping them back. No, it was open and there's a sub room where they took the used canisters, if you get my drift.
I think the jig is fucking up. Whatever's behind the door knows we're coming.
And rush through it. He's actually working his way back towards Hestia so that he can kick the door in if she hasn't broken it open by then.
Looks like she could do that.
It's a sturdy door, but Hestia's a sturdy woman, isn't she? She's not gonna let no little door stand in her way, is she? Of course, that would probably mean ruining her heels.
Is it strength versus brawl the door?
It is.
Hey, why is that door locked from inside? He says as he finishes with his most recent thwack.
Miriam will reach up and gently pat her new friend on the cheek. Could you open that door for me, love?
No. That door is a sanctum. What happens in there is for just the VIP members. Beyond there, none of us are cleansed enough for what happens in there. The only time that door is locked is during, well, ceremonies of the most resplendent beauty. And nothing that exists beyond that door of flesh during those ceremonies. The endorphins released through the full penetration of pain's pleasure removes all concerns of physicality. It exalts the heavenly host above. It allows for our spirits to convene, to conversate with one another, to become something else. And while birth is only the most divine of opportunities, and rebirth second only to that, what happens there is beyond all such constraints. The last time that door was locked, and like a lightning bolt, as he's slowly coming back to himself, he realizes what happened the last time that door was locked, and he drops to his knees and covers his head and begins praying.
Fuck.
Well,
Theo,
Hess was like, blah, 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 and turns around and, like, back kicks the door.
Theo, you're nearly to Hestia, lashing the last deacon, who is listening to the elder deacon, and right when he drops, so too do they, and they cover their heads and begin chanting in unison, jumping into the prayer where it was when their knees hit the ground. You hear Aaron say, "Fuck. What is it that you're doing?" As Hestia turns, twists her hips into it, just like you're supposed to, and lets fly.
He helps her because he knows that the first hit is probably going to be him, unfortunately. As he's pushing his shoulder into the door, he's gonna charge and try to put his shoulder into the door. He's gonna tell Hestia at a low volume, "Powerful Nazi in there. Nasty looking thing." And then he tried to blast the door as hard as he can.
Go ahead, roll your strength. Let's brawl and add it to Heshia's roll.
Ooh. Why isn't it like why can't we just have an easy time busting into an orgy? Why does it always have to come with such unfortunate circumstances?
Yeah.
She's alive all by herself, though.
I mean, I just want to point out, Miriam was having an easy time busting into this orgy without you.
Theo had a really easy time too. Theo had an easy time getting in too. He got in, no problems. Now he's having all types of issues.
He is. He most assuredly is, because as he lays his shoulder into the opening door, he is the central body between what's happening in this hall, on these stairs, and what has already happened beyond that door. The sounds of combat, the sounds of conflict, the raised voice and exultation of pain and pleasure, and the raised voices in anger, bouncing and ricocheting off the walls and carrying with them the only message that anyone bent towards their survival need understand. Oh shit, it's going down over there. Hence the locked door. Hence the horrific end to those that are left. Hence the clearly recently used tunnels in the back portion of this room that lead ever deeper into what lay beyond this room, which are the many thousands and thousands of miles of tunnels beneath the city. The many tunnels that lead into old buildings which have been submerged and built atop of. Those tunnels that lead into the sewers and into the subway and into the massive void at the center of the Chicago Underground. The void that is the spill for any flooding that may occur from Lake Michigan. The void where not even Nosferatu of a certain age will venture close to. And while those concerns and constraints of what lies beyond in all of that dark space through that door, now open on the opposite side of the room, is nothing compared with the bits of horse flesh mixed with the humans that had been left, those who were discarded and those who were left to be found because they couldn't be trusted to keep their mouths shut. Those bits and pieces of those VIP members that were being sampled for some other purpose. You've all been in an abattoir before. You've all been in a charnel house before. You know what stripped, skinned, and prepared meat might sound like, might look like. This look like that, as if someone took a rough-hewn blade to those left, not caring how it happened, or just so long as it did. Pieces upon pieces of people left on tables and in cooling stations. And the dark doesn't help. The gloam of wane lighting doesn't help you not understand what's there on the tables and in the bins and across the floor. Luckily for you, Theo, you do have weight of a feather, so you're not leaving footprints in all of the blood pooling around your feet. Unfortunately for you, Hestia, entering into that room, you don't want those stains on your shoes. You probably have to burn those shoes afterwards. Each of you kindred know what blood smells like. Each of you kindred know that mixed into that scent of blood is something else, something pelty, something wild and slightly rank, something... Yes. Very much, yes. You all have one action with that scent of otherness mixed into that blood to decide what it is that you will do.
Oh.
Miriam is going to reach down and just curl her fist in the deacon's hair and start dragging him out through the front.
Oh. If my... Alright, so, in-world, Aaron does not recognize this scent. He just knows that there is definitely something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Does anyone have heightened senses?
Nope.
Okay.
That's a no for me.
I chose Sense the Unseen this go
does.
around. Ooh.
Okay. If you roll your wits plus awareness, DC 4, you will buy your code members an additional action. Well, you potentially could, depending on what you do with the information that you obtain.
And I don't get to use aspects, it's just wits and awareness.
Yes.
I believe in you.
Are we considering that good enough, or should I reroll?
It's entirely up to you whether or not you want to re-roll that. Hot damn.
In the Garden of Eden, there was one tree that was kept from man, and it was the tree of knowledge. There's different takes on what that tree was the knowledge of, but at its base, it was simply knowledge. Eating of that tree changed the innocence of those who ate of it, and mankind at that period of time wasn't quite ready for it. Neither is Hestia as she realizes that sense. Neither is Hestia as she hears a familiar sound that even to this moment brings a small bit of trepidation in her. Realizing that what she hears, what she smells is endemically problematic because kindred are immune to most diseases in and of themselves. They, however, are not immune to becoming carriers, passing it on to their donors that they allow to live, or those that they choose to not drink till the end of them. And knowing what she knows about that scent and that sound, she understands why the deacons dropped and covered. Realizing what she realizes, what does she tell, what, if anything, to her coterie members?
Swarm of bats. Fuck, and they're probably ghouled. And she grabs the door, pulls it shut as she's backing her and Theo the fuck out of there and holding the door.
Okay, that being the case, that is going to be a dexterity and athletics roll on your part, and that is contested by the swarm of ghouled, angry, bloodthirsty bats. Most bats are not, in fact, predatory against large bipedals like humans. It takes time, effort, and breeding. The last time Hestia ran into a similar situation, they were almost killed. Her close friends and associates of her coterie almost ceased to be. And as you all hear that, what is it that you all are doing?
Having been given the forewarning and seeing what Hestia is up to, I will join her in the assault upon the door, because while he's never had experience with a swarm of ghouled bats, that does not sound like a good time.
Theo is going to help Hestia keep the door barred because that seems like that could be less fun than a barrel of monkeys.
Right, my point still stands. I'm dragging the dude out of the hair.
Okay, in that case, Miriam, you'll be rolling your dexterity and athletics -1 as you're dragging, as he's literally trying to hug the ground with everything that is in him, behind him, and has ever made him into what he is. Low and let them pass over is his understanding. You all are attempting to catch the door and bar it from them swarming you all. Be so kind as to go ahead and roll your dexterity and athletics as well.
Okay.
We have a base of 4 to build on, so should be okay.
We will see. How dare you consistently remind me that I'm... There.
It sounds like someone has a fully automatic cannon hurling 5-pound shells at you all as the door barely closes in front of the swarm as it just against the door, and you all begin backing away, even as those that have already hit the door, that made it just past the door, are screaming past you. The other deacons having hit the ground. Like Zeus's lightning bolt, the strafing attack of the bloodthirsty bat that swings past Miriam, leaving its claw across the upper portion of her robe, across her shoulder, and flying on, is enough that she feels the virulence coursing through her unmoving veins. Even as she speaks, it feels as if they took a branding iron and strafed her with it. There's only 3 that made it through the closed door before it was too impacted by the bodies of his brethren smacking against it one after the other, looking, seeking for actual fresh flesh of human. You can hear them hitting the door, rethinking their existences and beginning to feed on the blood and flesh inside. You hear the 3 that made it through screaming through the building, seeking out a target of opportunity as their strafing attacks begin to land on the tired, still flagrante, worshipful upstairs. You hear the screams of recognition and realization as to the last time the sanctum had been pierced. As people start freaking out. Now, normally, the average fruit bat can fit in the palm of your hand. The 3 dark shapes that make it past you in their musty, mold-covered fur are roughly the length of Shaq's forefinger to his elbow, with a wingspan that is roughly 6 feet each. And their shrieks, their shrill cries, not so shrill and not a shriek. It sounds like a group of alto-voiced near sopranos screaming at their highest register as they go swooping past you into the building, flapping and flapping and flapping and screaming and strafing. And you swear to God, even though you're not upstairs, as those 3 have made it past you and up the stairs, you know for a fact that every time they strafe, they're bringing their little, although not so small, almost human-like appendages to their lips, to their tongue, and licking away the blood that they've collected on their passes. Those of you with an occult of 2 or higher know many of the myths about how the Toreador and the Nosferatu are either sister and brother, or lovers, or equal sides of the same coin. Secrets and beauty, or secrets and the absence of beauty, in measure for measure. The higher the beauty, the lower the secret, but it still exists there. The higher the secrets, the lower the beauty, but it's still there. And here in the Cult of Helena, it seems as if they have their own demons, their own lower realms as part of their worship. It seems as if they are, in fact, according to Theo, in partnership, much like the myths of old. And as the three that have made it past you all and escape into the night are out there somewhere, you hear the angry growl of wolves and realize that you all are suddenly not as alone as you thought. The shrieks upstairs are only growing in intensity. The humans crying out in actual ardent fear for their existences. And you all breathe in the small measure of calm. You all prevented and stopped yourselves from being decimated by the ghouled noises coming from behind that door. You all started this with a job to do, several jobs to do. You all realize that the hole that you're in keeps getting further and further from the light. Realizing what's happening behind that door. Realizing that Miriam is leaving with one of the elder deacons. What is it that you all are doing in this moment as the screams of pleasure, as these monstrous bats consume the flesh and blood of what lies behind that door?
Mm. He kind of looks over to Hestia as he's still like manning the door, just
Well, they're eating the fucking evidence, but we can't do anything about that. What we can do something about is that upstairs. We can't let them kill everybody here.
the only one that we really need is the deacon. The rest of them are going to be a problem anyways, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, but they're going to be running for that unlocked fucking door upstairs.
We could open the door and get down.
I don't think that's a good idea in any universe. What, do you want to go up there and beat the shit out of 3 giant-ass bats? You think that's going to stop them from running?
It's still better than standing here guarding a door with fucking a shit ton more of them on the other side.
I say we take the deacon and get the fuck out. Follow her. If those bats get out and finish the rest of them off, so be it. If not, I don't know. We got to complete as many objectives as we can, and I don't think going up there and trying to stop these bats will do anything to help us get done what we need to get done.
Okay, so we go out the side door and bar the main door to trap them in here.
Yeah, that works for me. Let's get moving.
You think that we should since all of these people upstairs are going to die anyway, you think we should let the bats have them? No need for them to starve. Just saying.
I think there is a very good reason for the bats to starve, and that's I don't want to be their meal.
If we get down, they go above us, go upstairs.
Have you ever heard of...
You open the door, and we fucking just be faster than you. How about that?
Yeah, I'm just generally aware that predators have the capability of looking down. That flying animals have the ability to look down.
Knowing
that might be true, but if you notice all of them
knowing that the bodies are piling up on the other side, it's going to make it harder for the door to swing open and for them to get out anyway. So Hess is going to carefully let go of the door and then go for the fucking stairs. All sorts of celerity.
Following. The moment she lets off that door, I'm fucking zooming with her.
Joe leaves. He goes too, with all due haste.
There we go. I'm back. Sorry about that. No, I do not intend on being the man fed to the bear.
If they were all on the ground at the same time, that tells me it's a trained response. So obviously that's what they know to do when those things are out, is to get down. Just a thought.
Yes. And just a thought. Miriam, you make it to the top of the stairs, dragging him along, kicking and screaming. Though the kicking and the screaming isn't actually being done. What is being done is the covering of the head and staying as low as possible. Even being scraped and dragged along the ground itself versus rise up where he would be a target of opportunity. Making it to the top of the stairs and just glimpsing into that peripheral range there to your left, into what was the open worship portion of the temple, where everyone was doing what everyone was doing because they are on their own private territory. They are in their temple. They are in their house of worship. To see the effects of the wound that you have. You received a strafing claw strike. Your back is on fire. You haven't felt actual lasting pain in a very long time. Yet it is, in fact, very painful. It is, in fact, scorching. It does feel as if you suddenly have a fever. And yet, you're dead. You know that's not a possibility. You are a medical student. You know that's not a possibility. The physiological responses of the body cease the moment death. There's no way that bacterial or an infection could do anything more than die in the cold coolness of your being. And yet, you feel feverish. Just glancing in your peripheral, you see people dropping left and right, screams of pain that are actual pain. It's not worshipful asceticism. It is, holy fuck, this is soul searing. I can't breathe. It is so painful. And you see the immediate development of welts and pustulence. And you see people effectively being hit with a modified strain of Ebola, a virulent, fast-acting version, as if those strikes were snake toxin delivering all sorts of poison throughout the entirety of their system. You're not sure what it is that these bats have been infected with. You're not sure what it is that they have had grown in them, on them, and around them amongst the training that causes them to be actually bloodthirsty. Because while two of them are still strafing and claw striking as they make their way around the room, the third is already lashed onto a victim of choice, its mouth buried in the deltoid of some very rotund, Rubenesque man who, well, if not for certain dangly bits, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between which gender he might aspire or ascribe to. And the bat feeds, much like you've seen other kindred do. Fangs buried and tongue lapping, carrying all of that deliciously warm, salty goodness into their system. The other two still strafing and dive bombing and banking left and right to weave between victims, hitting left and right, striking out, causing the bodies to fall and people to writhe and scratch and try to catch it before it gets, and it's too late. And suddenly Hestia's there. Not long behind her, Aaron and Theo are there, and you can hear the shrieks and screams of more on their way. And with the thought and understanding that the door creaks open, causing just enough of new air to enter into that chamber filled with parts and pieces and blood, they've begun escaping. You can imagine them first, one little fist-sized head peeking through the crack, using its wings and scrabbling to open it as others assist, and some get in the way and cause it to close a little bit more, and some manage to figure out what's being done, and they push and nudge and saunter out on little clawed feet, like penguins almost, in the way that they move. They scan the peripheral around them, the area around them, and leap into the air. Long, easy flaps of wings causing them to eat up distance. And much like winter, you know they're coming. And it's 50 after the hour. Let's pause here for 10 minutes and be back at the turning of the hour.
Oh.
Sounds like a plan.
You've tainted the flying sky puppies.
Well, now they're sky puppies and so much as Cujo.
Welcome back, everybody. How we doing?
I'm doing fine, Just deeply concerned about the host of bat things that is creeping forward.
Oh, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I try to be effusive in some of the descriptions, and I leave certain things off to give you all the opportunity of picking up on any cues you would like. Or not, as the case may prove to be. So, I will advise keep that in mind. And as we wait for Hestia and Theo, is there any questions you all have thus far?
Who's here, by the way?
Why, hi, Theo. Welcome back.
Yeah. You're denying me question time.
Yay!
That being the case, when we last left, the swarm, so reminiscent of the swarm Hestia came face to face with a little more than 3 years ago. A swarm that, in casual conversation off screen, in casual asides with the shelter as they were, I'm sure that Hestia and Simone would have shared with the other members of the coterie. A swarm that, well, can be trained, because the gifts, one of the many gifts of Vitae, generation after generation, is increased intelligence, strength, a connection with the originator of that Vitae. And while not as instinctively skin crawling as the horde of spiders, the colony of spiders that abounded Redwood's home and the grounds there around, nor his dogs that were killed in preparation of their arrival. When they encountered the bats, they'd encountered a farther along mutated strain that were able to scrabble and crawl across the ground, much like their cousins, the rats, and take flight from limb to limb of the trees they lived in. But that was so very long ago, and this is not that particular strain. Yet the memory of that attack, those attacks, is impossible to escape. Normally, you only deal with trauma when you are in a place safe enough where you can address the way that those scars are knitted together. Where you're safe enough where that poking and probing of those deeply traumatized tissues will not, in fact, cause other infection to grow. However, in this case, in the midst of hearing those alto screams that should be squeaks and chirps, but instead sounds like very small women screaming up the corridor, up the stairs towards you all. Hestia is in full grip and realization of what had come before. Those of you all with any semblance of either academics, animal kin, or occult, totaling in accord with your intelligence at 4 or higher, can easily ascertain what these bats are. Those of you with an intelligence and medicine at 4 or higher can attest to how virulent what their strikes, i.e. their blood and the fungus that is growing on them in the mold of their pelts, can do to living flesh. Does anyone meet those thresholds?
Tell them that as they're going up the stairs. Do what you can to not get scratched. They're disgusting. And it will hurt you.
Oh, fun. Alright. He says, knowing what the bats are, but not having, at least until that moment, known what, like, how virulent they were. Because I got that good academics plus intelligence. Hell yeah.
Right. I hit most of those. I have the intelligence academics, intelligence medicine, and intelligent occult. And if you really want to go into it, I have animalism 3. So.
Theo has none of that, so you can skip me.
So what you all know, factually and actually from what you've all witnessed, they are trained and have trained responses. Once that door is locked and they are released, things on 2 feet are prey. You notice that they don't attack those things and humans and persons that immediately hit the ground. Those who already laying prone are passed over. However, those who stand and fight or try to run are strafed and set upon and drained like the prey that they are. And for the medicine aspect of what they are, you are very sure that knowing the time frame when Hestia last dealt with them was when the outbreak throughout Roseland of a strange pathogen that was affecting certain individuals, and they couldn't figure out how it spread from person to person with a near 76% mortality rate. 1 + 1 in this case very much equaling 2.
Well, seeing their reaction to those already on the ground and their reaction to those scrambling about, you're just gonna put in those old rusty trench crawling training days into effect and just start sloughing his way through this mess in an attempt to not be
directly assaulted by them. He just kind of looks back. Crawl, damn it! Because, of course, Theo had to be right about hitting the deck. Because
Past his mental places, them bitches gonna have to catch me first.
Get you outside. Theo says, not to be that guy, but where's Rosa?
That's actually a great point. Where's Rosa?
I feel like Rosa was smart, and as soon as we said what we said, she would have been peaced out by now. But
Right.
The silence is deafening. Rosa's name echoing between the pelts of fur and the screeches from down the steps, growing closer and closer by the second. We're taking it that Hestia takes off. We're taking it that Aaron hits the dirt and begins trench crawling towards the nearest door. What, in fact, is Miriam and Theo doing?
Theo is on the ground, by the way. Because we figured that being on the floor while crawling, they more than likely won't attack him. Not saying that he's right or anything, just kind of, saying.
Miriam is going to get down and do her best to crawl while still trying to keep her hand nestled in the mop of hair.
So that being the case, the only dodge factor at this point as they're streaking towards you all would be you, Hestia. Would you be so kind as go ahead and roll your dexterity, athletics, plus your celerity? Contested, of course. As the fastest member of the current crew and moving in the fastest way possible, here's the question for Hestia. Making it out the door, does she if she makes it out the door ahead of them, does she close it behind her?
yeah, that's the whole problem, because she cannot let these things get out.
Choices.
The sad part is we're just generally not fast enough to keep up with that.
No, she would hold the door and wait for her comrades to get to the door. But she's also going to shout behind her, I don't know where Rosa is. I don't see her.
Oh no. Wait. Is she counted as the initiator for that one?
She is the defender.
Oh fuck.
So wait, do I win or not?
You are dodging and fleeing as fast as possible. They are attacking. They are hunting. They are the aggressor and the initiator. As you all trench crawl, as you elbow to ground and boot scoot your way towards freedom, Hestia is a blink and gone. Hestia is a blur as far as the rest of the world is concerned. The problem with being a blur is that the eyes still track, the eyes still receive and understand all of the information that the mind jumbles together. You see everything. As long as you have the ability of sight, all of that information bombards the brain at the same time. It only looks like a blur. It only feels as if it's moving too fast for you. The truth of the matter is, the brain doesn't believe you won't hurt yourself with all of that information, so it jumbles it together. Even for the kindred. The problem with that is that these animals, these ghouled monstrosities, have no such compunctions, and movement is prey. And bipedal is prey. And as Hestia calls out, I don't see Rosa, a bat strafes her across the top of her forehead. Its claw marks leaving indents through her hair. Its associate attempts to dive bomb Hestia, but she in fact does manage to dodge. But that first virulent strike is enough to have her cursing all sorts of sons of, well, four-legged female canine. There is a Beastmaster somewhere in the world that Hestia has sworn unforgiving, bloody vengeance against, as she feels the bite of their claws against her undead flesh. And more are swooping towards her and out into the night, where they might have access to the rest of the city, starting with this particular neighborhood.
So there were 3 to start with upstairs. 1 hit me, and then the other 2 flew for it and went out the door?
Yes, and those on the steps are reaching the first floor now.
All right, well, seeing the effectively shit's gone down, it's too late. In his mind, at the very least, like sprinting towards the door drew their attention to the door and the night air outside, knowing that there's more coming up, and not being able to or being willing to allow more than is absolutely mandatory to get out. He's just gonna, oh fuck it, stand up and start sprinting towards the door.
Miriam, Theo.
It's going to stay low until he gets out and then pull the door closed behind him.
Mary's already infected, so, what's the harm? Just, her little friends might be staying down a little bit.
All right, that'll be DC 5 then?
Yes.
All right. I believe in me. Hey, I believe in me! All right.
Yay!
Miriam, that's your target if you're trying to do it with speed and alacrity, because Aaron's goal is quite simply get to the door and slam it shut.
She knows that she's not that fast, so it's still going to be slow and steady, just a little more two-legged.
All right, is she going to attempt to defend herself from the attacks? Because being bipedal, she is one of the targets of opportunity for this particular group of monstrous beasties, or is she going to attempt to dodge?
She is going to do her best to dodge. But again, she's already infected, so to speak, so little pain never hurt anyone.
All right, go ahead and roll your dexterity and athletics versus that DC. Theo, you don't have anything to worry about doing the stomach crawl, inchworming your way across the floor. Speed is not a factor nor a consideration for you. You do understand that once Aaron gets to the door, his intention is to close it to keep these things from getting loose into the rest of the city.
Yes, but with most other mammalian creatures with opposable thumbs, I can always open the door and leave. So I'm not too concerned.
Okay. That is considerably more than one less, Miriam. For a brief second, you understand what Rosa...
That was rousing.
Oh, okay. That's considerably less. That is 100% still being hit and struck. And it is, in fact, close enough to the DC where you are effectively not taking any active damage this round, much like Hestia and yourself previous. However, and here's the however, the pain, the fact that you are aware that you are now effectively Typhoid Mary is both physical and mental for a medical professional like yourself. There's no PPE against whatever this is. You've seen the effects of this on living flesh and the living as a whole. Making it to the door, slow and steady. The question remains, when Hestia and Aaron closed the door, did they attempt to bar it or just close it?
Ooh, that's vile. Fuck.
Cass?
I think Cass would be distracted with the fact that two got out.
All right.
So it would just pretty much just be closing the door to her. She is focused elsewhere, which is probably going to get a little gory in a minute, but I will let you get to what you're getting.
Yeah, so there are multiple entrances to this place, right?
Well, if it's up to standard code, yes.
Okay.
If it was grandfathered in, well,
Okay.
I think we would know that though, because we came in one set of doors and we left out a different set of doors.
Yeah. Aaron's not a man to half-ass things. Those bats have shown a propensity for figuring out how to get a door fucking open. So, yeah, he's gonna slide a bar through. And hope that either A, his compatriots will be able to find an alternate exit with the bats distracted with the rest of these screaming, running around meals, or B, sometime in the near future he'll be able to get them out without letting any of the flying fiends loose.
There is a weight of knowledge. It's not a comfortable one. One of the many quotes in pertaining to the weight of knowledge is, the more one knows, the less beauty there is in the world. And that is even more so the case now. Sweaty, moist flesh of those supplicants and worshipful who were building towards a second crescendo of the evening had no inclination nor understanding that the crescendo would be, in fact, their attack. Their becoming contagious to others. They had no foreknowledge that these wicked, scarred, monstrous-looking rodentia would be the center of the happenings. And at first, oh, they're so cute in a hideous way. There's beauty in everything. Oh, ow, fuck, is eating my face. Or, oh my god, does that hurt? No, it fucking... And so forth and so on. And from worshipful ecstasy, even to the point of ragged lactic acid buildup and cramps and Charlie horses and flaccid interactions, there was still a spiritual faith in the process. I know it's weird. I know this is your first time, but just trust the process. Just trust that we will get there together. And then the screams of actual pain, not the fall pain that they were inflicting upon themselves, not the safe word flogging, not the pinching or biting or clawing of human fingernails. No. This other that poured molten lava into their veins. This other that the rabid, foaming mouths of these flying rats setting upon them. And you see the doubt filtering into certain faces and having filtered into certain souls as the "fuck this shit, I'm out" hit. And there was running and screaming and calling for help and for powers beyond what had been worshipped just moments prior. Getting to the door and realizing that it's barred. And having been made aware of certain other ways in and out and back across the open spaces. Question remains for Miriam and Theo. Is it a sprint? Is it a crawl? Is it suffering more of the vicious, cruel slings and arrows of these flying rodents' claws and teeth? Or is it just acceptance of their potential fate?
This may seem weird, but Theo is going to work his way to the other exit, still all the way down, to try to not be bitten and slashed or anything, but work his way to the other door. If that one's locked, he's going to work his way back downstairs and try to find an exit out that way. Because there has to be a third exit. There has to be another way out.
There always is, isn't there? There's always more than one way of getting inside the egg or escaping the yolk. Miriam, realizing the situation that you all are in, realizing what the outcome is there any other consideration or actions on her part?
She's if she sees that the door has been barred that she was working her way towards, she will go flat again and work her way to a different door.
there are some stories that have built-in happy ends, a calm respite from the violence and virulence of activity. There are certain moments where one is thankful to have held on to the bull 15 seconds. You know you're going to be thrown. You know it's going to hurt. But the longer you hold on, is a testament to your skill and your power. 15 seconds doesn't seem like anything. It's a lifetime for certain situations. To crawl across the floor, past the bodies who are fallen, past the victims who believe they were fast enough and proved wrong to escape. You all make it to the second door, just as out front, Aaron, Hestia.
Hestia's talking to Aaron. Can't let them get out. We have to burn it to the ground. I know that's what we wanted to do in the first place, and that's what we probably should have fucking done. But we have to burn it to the ground. This is not going to go well because this is another fucking primogen. I might have had a hand in killing somehow, but we cannot let those fucking things get out of there.
He kind of just looks at the wound on her and just, is that gonna be a problem?
I'll handle it after I know that place is lit on fucking fire.
Alright. No arguments from me. You got an accelerant?
She points to the myriad of cars parked up and down the street.
Shakes his head. I'm not gonna get the taste out of gasoline out of my mouth, am I? He walks off towards the cars while he leaves her to handle, I guess, locking down the other entrances.
Yeah, so she is looking for something to keep anyone else from getting outside. So whoever's coming to the door probably got about like 5-10 seconds before she jams something in the door to keep it closed.
There's that absence of happy ending once more. As you move to the next door to bar it from being open from within to allowing more of those flying vermin out into the night. Just as a test to set the DC, would you be so kind as to, you did say you're going to give them seconds, so would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your dexterity and athletics, and as long as they are within one of whatever you roll for your dexterity athletics, they do make it to their door in time.
Sorry if something's been said to me. I've been ambushed by my brother.
All right, Miriam, Theo, that is your target number. Roll well. Is that your final roll, or are you using your willpower?
I think he also had the DC up. One too high.
Yes,
Yeah, he
you did.
rolled it at DC 3 and he got 2 successes.
So you're within the... Yes. You make it to their door, and it looks as if you're not going to get there in time, as Miriam slips out and the door closes right back behind her once more. A plan in place is still a plan, is still a bit of hope, and that hope pushes Theo to the threshold just as he gets the door open as Hestia is preparing to further bar the door. Having crawled there, you haven't attracted their attention. Motion isn't what does it for these particular hunters. It is their training against bipedal forms, which says all sorts of things. It casts a pale light as to what sort of training has been done for these monsters, who their prey is. And as you all get out the door, just as Hestia begins barring it, there is a very real understanding as Hestia bars the door that anyone brave enough, strong enough to resist the pain or to have followed your suit will not be making it out of there. Does anyone have a conviction against helping the helpless? Does anyone have a conviction on not endangering other lives? Does anyone have a conviction pertaining to the saving of as many lives as possible?
Technically, we all have a conviction about, wanton murder.
I mean, there's the self-defense angle, though.
Theo doesn't.
Hestia is never kill, and unless in defense of lives. She's defending the lives of the rest of Chicago by killing these people.
No, what I have is a conviction called never leave a thing half done.
No, I've got self-care, facts, and necessity has no law.
The reason why I ask and why it's relevant to the now, keeping those monstrosities inside is in fact a death sentence to anyone still inside. Mortal, potentially immortal. It is a proclamation of your worth your value does now outweigh the preservation of others. It is a choice to sacrifice the few for the health of the many. It is a active choice in allowing Hestia borrowing this particular door, keeping everyone inside. There could be.
She slides the bar home. She looks at the rest of them. Rose is still in there somewhere. So you know what this means, right?
She's not making it home tonight?
Can you call her?
Does anyone know that she came with us tonight?
I do.
The slow slide of a cold gaze.
People at the park. Remember, we were surrounded when we went to get her.
Do we have a phone number for her? Or do we know someone who has a phone number for her?
Maybe someone at the park.
Maybe. But I do not think it'll be a good idea to stroll on in there and let them know the current state of the Primogen. Trapped in a building full of disease-carrying ghoul bats.
Love to get my hands on one. Doesn't have to be alive.
Well, if we have it our way, none of them will be alive.
I know where a whole bunch of them are.
Inside, yes.
And we're all on the same page.
Look, Hestia, I know this is shit for you, but it doesn't exactly change the tone of the song that's already been sung about you, so I'm gonna get to work spreading the gasoline.
It frowns. I know. In asking her to help, that potentially her life was gonna be in danger, but I had hoped that maybe this was turning shit around, and I understand what we have to do. So she
Kind of shaking his head.
finishes barring the door and backs away.
Yeah. I kind of hoped that a Primogen wouldn't get so shell-shocked.
Too bad this is not a theater.
Can I ask why?
Well, there's a really interesting story about a Chicago theater that... Yeah, never mind.
Just blinks twice, then goes back to his work.
Tiger's Theater has underground tunnels that lead to a bar. This place has underground tunnels. That's the problem. Or that's the solution to that. But with the fact that she's being attacked, do you really think she's gonna think of that?
There's
Especially once the fire
a
hits.
chance. There's a chance for her, if she didn't get attacked by the bats, she can go into that inner sanctum and lock herself up. It's locked from the inside. Let's just... Oh no, wait, fuck. We destroyed that, didn't we?
Well, there were tunnels because they led the bodies into one of the back rooms that I had mentioned. I'm pretty sure they don't cart the dead out the front door. So
Yeah, suffice to say, when we set this bitch aflame, there's a chance she might be on the other side of it, but we are going to have to set it aflame.
I mean, there's also another option. Before you light the match, we can call Damien.
Yeah, well, Damien and anyone in this city that gives a shit is supposed to be on their way here already. Astia, that's the flare you put out, right?
Yeah. I told them it was an emergency, and that shit was going down, and that it was a big problem, so they're supposed to be heading this way. But we still have to do what we gotta do.
There you go.
Well, if the doors are barred, then what is the harm in waiting a few more minutes?
The door was closed downstairs in the basement. They figured out how to fucking open it.
Yeah, but so could a dog. I mean, if given enough time.
Look, we don't actually know how strong these things are.
Strong enough to open a door.
I would appreciate the sense of humor in any other scenario, but we're talking about potentially burning a Primogen to death to stop a plague outbreak.
Okay, how about this? Again, we know that they won't attack anything that's prone. Do you... For now. But again, as I said, as a trained response, they know something prone, they won't attack you. I have no scratches on me whatsoever. We could, in theory, go back and try to rescue said Primogen. We know that there's tunnels down there. I don't know her like that. But if you guys want me to, I could.
Looks over to Hestia.
If I let you back in
Can't
the prison,
hit what you can't
in your
see.
own fucking hand.
Yeah. If you go in there, any consequences on you.
Well, here's a question. If I go back in there and I don't save her, would I get any glory for doing such?
I'll give you a crisp handshake. How about that?
That would be into the higher ups.
All right.
Who would have to know that you all brought a Primogen into a combat situation?
Exactly. Either that or we burn her down and say we lost her to Fruckus. Hestia, you're the one who everyone's going to look at. And we're part of your coterie, so if you call it, I will go. However, you could be theoretically, you could be ordering me to my death. Just kind of FYI, though. I don't think you would want to order to death any of your coterie. If you say so, I will.
Order a situation, guy. If you don't want to go in, you don't go in.
Sorta, I'm assuming that because Rosa was Tower, that she would not typically have a cell phone.
She would not typically have a cell phone. And if she had a cell phone, you guys would have called her earlier, wouldn't you?
I don't have her number.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wouldn't have assumed to have had the Primogen's number because we're still out, but still. Hess is going to put out a second text to Damien. We're about to light the place up. It's gotten bad.
There is something much akin to the slamming of a jail cell door that once you hear it on the opposite side of it, on the wrong side of it, you don't forget. But the locking mechanisms are different from state to state, from local to county to prison, but they all sound the same. They all strike the same vibrational frequency in your soul. A bit of finality, at least for now, that is inescapable. And as you hit send, that is what you feel. A act of finality, a casting of lots, fate being importuned directly. And as you all wait with bated breath, it doesn't take long for Hestia's cell phone to vibrate. And the text that comes through, it is a text.
He's definitely gonna track it. She sighs and looks at Aaron. Light her up.
And up it goes.
Do you guys light it up with a nice little trail of gas leading up to the building and all over the door, or do you try to light it up standing exactly next to the building and the flame?
I'm not suicidal, nobody. I know what the rot check is. We go a nice little trail on the little concrete path that's normally connected to the front door. Okay, it goes out a little bit. And then rather than having my fucking face up in front of it with a lighter or something, I'm doing the whole box match toss. Just so I can have as much distance as possible from the boom boom.
In most media, when something's lit, there's a whoosh as the sound effect and the maximum connection of visceralness is made on screen or on the pages of your favorite comic and the TV shows you've watched. There's a moment of the absence of all sound. As the flame starts like a cold Michigan shower in the middle of December with a trickle, there's a realization that in this moment, right now, as the flames slowly begin rolling along the gas towards the building, nibbling at the edges and slowly working its way into full bloom, there's an understanding that in this moment, right now, the shelter as it is, physically, is exactly the shelter of so many rumors and gossips. This shelter, these members presently are actively engaged in the end and ending of a Primogen member. And the building goes up. The gasoline crawling and eating at the ivy along the sides of the building. The facade caked as it was in cleaning agents and what have you, causing the flames to grow and magnify and feed on themselves. The outside of the building being stone only helps cause the heat inside to begin to build and build as the flames work their way in, much like water finding the easiest path of egress. And it makes its way in. And while not dead, those contracted of the virulence of the bats and those bats that were still left on the first floor begin screaming. It's not the quiet, don't leave me here, can you help me, that Hestia still has memories of, that Miriam still has memories of Nash's childer on the roof calling for their help. It is so much worse. It is a fun house of screams and peals and mad laughter that signifies the end of things. And while you all can't see, and while you all have no way of proving, you are sure that on the steps, fighting valiantly against all of these monstrous beasts, attacking and besetting and tearing away flesh, and unwilling to give in, unwilling to yield, possessed by the fullness of her beast, Rosa stands in bloody covered jeans and torn shirts and jackets and bits of flesh as she fights with a bloody wound across one cheek, a severed bit of finger on the other, and she claws and strikes and snarls and refuses to relent. She demands that she will stand victorious because her beast is urging her to be what she is, the master of beasts, the survivor of it all. And the building goes up. And it is 54 after the hour. I'd like to thank you all for a lovely episode. I look forward to seeing you all next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
I like to imagine there's just this solemn moment of, you never really get used to that, do you? Just as we listen to the screams.
Yeah, literally has to stand in there with tears pouring down.